Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie, and welcome back to another DraftKings DFS Slate breakdown. On the agenda, this time we have the second legs of these UCL knockout playoff games. What's interesting about this slate that is different from the one last time with these teams is that instead of Milan Feyenoord, we now have Atalanta Bruges because now Milan's the early game, so now it's not part of that main classic slate, and that kind of creates a different dynamic to these games as well as the aggregate. So it makes it a pretty interesting slate, and it's going to be a lot different than the first time around with these teams. You can't just play like the same guys you did last time, and you shouldn't do that anyway because these aggregates kind of change a lot of stuff. Like, for example, this Benfica Monaco game, first game, despite Benfica being at home, Monaco are the ones down on aggregate, so I expect them to be the aggressors at times. In terms of projected lineups and set pieces, though, first, we have likely a Kochku and Akatolu split on Benfica. Di Maria first came back from injury, immediately re-injures himself in that UCL game last week. So no danger of really that Coach Guacatolu split changing. And then for Monaco, it should be Lamine Camara mostly, and then Ben Seguir, Enrique, or Akliuch kind of all vying for a split there. Atalanta and Bruges, I think it will be um, Bellanova and Zappacosta splitting. There are rumors that Lookman could be back healthy. I'd be a little surprised if he started, but Atalanta are down on aggregate, as you can see, so they could end up risking him. That's something to keep an eye on for. And if he starts, he probably has monopoly, or at least a majority of set pieces, with maybe Zappacosta or Bellanova taking some one-offs. And then for Bruges, it should be De Kuiper and Zolis. Bayern and Celtic. Bayern 2-1 up on aggregate. I think it'll be a Kimmich and Olise split. And then for Celtic, it should be a Engels monopoly. So one thing to really note is despite Bayern being down or up, I mean, on aggregate, they are the big favorites here. Atalanta, they have as big favorites as well. And Monaco slightly minus odds, interestingly enough, despite being up as well. I get why Bayern are big favorites. They are at home and they just tend to steamroll teams here. Like, even though they are up, I don't really expect them to play any different than usual. They'll dominate the ball. They'll try to just rack up the goals. So that makes sense to me. So I'm not worried too much about the aggregate score there. And then Atalanta, it seems like they're really leaning into the bookmaker seems to like they're really leaning into Atalanta needing the win here and going for it. That's interesting. And yeah, like I said, I don't really get Benfica Monaco odds. I think it'll be a pretty competitive game and pretty close. Monaco were pretty dominant before they got their red card last game. So I could see this game being pretty even. In terms of prices, Harry Kane, big dog at 10,800. Questionable, but I think he's fine. Just missed training on Tuesday. We'll see if there's like a shock absentee there for him, a shock absence there for him. But if he's playing, I'm all in. Like, he's just a 90-minute guy almost every game, literally every game of Champions League. And like minus 200 goal scoring odds or something. And with this slate not including the Milan Feyenoord game, I think that really limits your forward options just because the Bruges Atalanta guys are just not really that appealing to me. So it just makes me even more just want to just plug Harry Kane here, and I'll just be happy doing that. Like, in terms, I think the real debate is what second forward is. Like, Atalanta guys just feel a little pricey to me, like the Catalara, Retegui, even Lookman potentially if he starts. But I could end up getting the Lookman. He feels a lot more intriguing if he starts over your Reteguis and the Catalaras. So yeah, like I said, like in cash games at least, I'm not super interested in those. Then you got like Sane. I can get behind that at 7,900. Akertolu, I don't mind at 6,700 either. Zolis is not that crazy of a play as well. Gnabry will be good value. And then there's this Beerith guy who I think is super solid as well, but probably more of a GPP guy. He's got like two hat tricks in like 3 Ligoon games or something, 4 Ligoon games. So he's been super impressive. So I thought he was worth the mention. I probably don't get that in cash, but that's not a bad play at all, 5,300 in GPP formats. And you got like Sheldrup as like your punt forward who never really does anything. Then your Celtic guys you can go in GPP as well. Like I said, I'm building on Harry Kane here, just like I did last time around. Midfielders. What's different? Another thing that's different here from these first legs is that Kimmich has been priced up a little bit. I don't feel as comfortable just locking him in at 9K versus 8,800 just because now we can get to Olise for similar pricing because he's been priced down. So like Kimmich has gone up, Olise down. Now they're kind of comparable. And now it's a bit of a rather than like the salary kind of taking it out of your hands on which one to go. I feel a lot more tempted to go to Olise for the upside. Now it's you're kind of juggling whether you want to risk the minutes potentially being limited versus his upside when you can go like a safe Kimmich who will just go 90 minutes, good for his 15 to 20, and very rarely over that. So a little bit of a debate there over which mid to start with. I like going one or the other though. I think in cash games you gotta start there. Like there is Musiala who, for me, is just a GBP alternative. I'd rather go prioritize Kane than him. I'd rather prioritize Kimmich and Olise rather. So I don't love Musiala here, frankly, at price. Then other mids I'm debating here. Coach Goofy is a little pricey at 7K. Ben Seguir doesn't feel awful at 6,900. Same with Akliuch. Like Monaco, I think you'll see a trend of being pretty cheap here. And like I said, I'm probably higher on them than the bookmakers have that game. So I'm liking a lot of these cheaper Monaco pieces, especially Lamine Camara, just because Monaco are down a ton of midfielders. They have this Koulibaly guy who's like part of the B team, barely played at all for the actual first team. And they're like the reason for that is that all these midfielders are suspended or injured. Golovin, Zakaria, Masrati, Mugasa. Because of that, I think Lamine Camara should be like a guaranteed 90 piece, despite him not starting last game due to injury. So I'm kind of all in on Lamine Camara here. That is my favorite, maybe mid for price, just because he's a significant discount on Elise or Kimmich. Who, like I said, I'll probably be starting right now anyway. But I really like yeah, Lamine as a good pairing to those guys. Engels is your little bit more of a GPP option. I was shocked he did as well as he did against Bayern. They do need to win here in a way. So though they should go for it at the very least. They don't have that home crowd backing them though, which I think largely contributed to him doing so well. Like I don't really see him repeating this in floor unless he has like a goal contribution. Repeating the score unless he has a goal contribution. So I don't love angles here. Like I said, I think Kamara's a safer play, but in GVP, I could see myself getting there. Minamino, like this is another just super cheap Monaco option if he starts as a cheap attacker that I'm definitely into. Other guys I'm thinking about, Benakin for GPP at 3,700 is not bad. Barrero, is he projected for Benfica? Yeah, Barrero, I don't mind at all for 3K as well. And then I could get to a Diatta if he plays like right back or something for 3K. But yeah, like I said, I think the big decision is Kimmich or Olise here. And for a defender, Bellanova feels overpriced, I mean, at 6,600. I just don't really see ways to comfortably get there just because if you're starting Kane, Olise slash Kimmich, that's not a ton of salary you have left over. This makes it super difficult to cram in a Bellanova there as well. De Kuiper, same thing. Like I'd love De Kuiper if he's like 1 or 2K cheaper. If he's like 4,500, that'd be super tempting for me. But at 5,600, up on aggregate or Bruges likely play a little bit more conservative, sit back a little bit more. I don't love that. Carreras, once again, just feels too much for me, considering he was like 3,600 last week, 3K, like the entire Champions League practically. And now 3,500, that just feels like a lot for me, especially when he didn't get his points, no sustainable fashion against Monaco. 4 shots, they were up a man, and get a clean sheet. They could have had like 2 or 3 points you'd expect normally. And because of that, like I said, I don't really like that Carreras play at all there. Guerrero I get behind just because I think Bayern have a lot more upside here. Once again, though, he's been pretty poor as well. And these pay up defenders, like I said, are gonna be tough to get to with your Kanes, Elise's, Kimmich's. So I'm a lot more in favor of the punt approach, where you've got super tempting options like Stanisic if he starts with Bayern. They had him in projected as a cheap right back for you, if nothing else. He's been pretty okay, or he was okay against Slovan Bratislava, nothing crazy. But 4 points for 3,700 isn't bad at all. And then Chayo Enrique. I'm always loving this guy. He just never ends up playing. I know he was pretty poor against Inter and Arsenal, but that's international. You don't expect him to do anything crazy. Benfica are definitely not the same level of opposition there. And with them down on aggregate, they should really go for it. So I'm super behind Chayo Enrique. I could see him having kind of the similar kind of game like he had against that's Red Star, I think, where he had 13 floor. And at 3,500, I think it is definitely worth the risk. And other center backs like Dyer, I could be behind like a Bayern defender or an Atalanta center back, just because they open up some salary there as well. Goalkeepers. As always, just play whoever fits the rest of your build, play whoever you can afford. Like any of these guys can get there, especially with the interesting facet of aggregate, where you could have like let me do an example of the what goalkeeper can I use an example of? Like the Atalanta Bruges game, if you go like the Bruges goalkeeper, say, for example, even if Atalanta go up a goal, they should still be trying to play for the win, which is not like your normal game flow where if a goalkeeper gives up a goal, their team typically starts to be the ones aggressing. They end up being the teams attacking because of this aggregate scoring. Like even if the goalkeeper is on the team that is losing, they should still get decent flow if their team is down on aggregate, which is completely different than like your normal games. So yeah, like I said, can really get to any goalkeeper here. Long story short. And then like 100 GBP, like you can always get off of Harry Kane just because I really like him in cash. Doesn't mean I'll have him in every single build. Definitely, I will still have some Retegui, some De Ketelaere, some Pavlidis in those formats, in that format too. I'm just doing this kind of from a cash perspective, single entries and double ups, what I'd get to. And in terms of a core, like I said, I'm going Harry Kane here. Then I think you just start Lamine Kamara. I just don't think you can commit to a Kimmich or Olise just as core worthy plays, since I think they're both very viable routes at second mid. So Lamine Kamara is kind of the guy you go with those two, and you just make that decision yourselves. And then if Chayo Enrique plays, I'm going Chayo Enrique. That is the salary relief for affording your Kimmiches and Olises. And yeah, guys, that'll be it. And I'll see you for the next one. Peace.